After Chulwang received Li Guo's order, rumors spread that the Gong blacksmith stopped taking orders. 2 months have passed and winter has arrived. Reportedly, Chulwang didn't come out of his office once, and Li Guo disappeared and winter arrived without him. Man Bokja, who is still staying at Chulwang's place, is confused by all this. Chulwang's son volunteered to contact Thousand Sword Academy. Chulwang immediately pinches his head. He tells his son that there is always a meaning in General Li Guo's actions, in contrast to his useless son. After that, Chulwang goes back into his study. Day to day, season to season. Chulwang is still trying to develop what Li Guo wants. Fortunately, the progress has begun to show. According to him, during forging, after heating the iron to a high temperature, if he aligns the piece of iron with a magnetic bar, he can combine the iron with magnetic energy. A little knowledge: magnetic metal is a rare metal that has a magnetic field. Chulwang is seen forging the iron tirelessly, because this is the request of his life savior. Chulwang admits that he will not regret even if he dies while forging like this. All the time he keeps trying to finish his forging. Sweat drips down his face, so tired. Suddenly, someone wipes the sweat using a cloth. It turns out, it's Li Guo. Li Guo immediately apologizes for making Chulwang worried. Seeing Li Guo, of course Chulwang was surprised. I don't know how long Li Guo disappeared and Chulwang continued to work, but now the season has returned. The 4 of them sat at the table with each of them having a glass of tea. Apparently, Li Guo taught them the art of tea technique. He also told them to prepare themselves and control the heat of the 5 senses. Exhaust the energy that is not needed through the bones. And gather the energy to focus on the tea. Suddenly, the tea from Chulwang's glass rises into the air. Li Guo smiles at Chulwang, who has become the first to successfully perform the art of tea technique. Apparently, Man Bokja is a little jealous. He accuses Li Guo of giving his energy to Chulwang. Li Guo just smiles and tells him to forge at least 1 armor bar if he wants help. Hearing that, Man Bokja is stunned. After that, Li Guo leaves the place and walks. He muses that he got information about the Thousand Sword Academy from the manager of the Hanjin Financial Institution in Shaanxi, Manhwa, last year. He told him that the student of the Thousand Sword Academy named Shi has the element of lightning on his sword, but lately, the lightning disappeared from his hollow thunder sword. Li Guo concludes, that way, it means Shi has succeeded in doing it. Suddenly, he is surprised by the arrival of Man Bokja. Man Bokja also thought that Li Guo was thinking about the Thousand Sword Academy. Li Guo smiled and called him a ghost who knew everything. Man Bokja stood beside him and told him that he had heard that the Thousand Sword Academy was holding an opening ceremony. They were rebuilding damaged buildings and recruiting new people. Li Guo was grateful to hear that, but before seeing the Thousand Sword Academy, Li Guo would take Man Bokja to visit a place first. Meanwhile, on the other side, at the Blood Demon clan, the Shining Avian Horse clan, there was someone running around, and there was also an explosion. I don't know who it was, but he was being chased by the Blood Demon soldiers. The man kept running away from the soldiers, because he was determined. No matter what, the man had to report this to the Bayok clan. That is, one of the Bayok clan's 4 divine weapons, the bone collector, that was stolen was found. Arriving at the castle wall, the man felt cornered. Moreover, the height from the wall where he stood to the ground was 9 meters. According to him, if there was sand below, he would force the jump, even if he had to die here. The Blood Demon clan soldiers were already surrounding him. But the man had already jumped. Suddenly, a red-haired ninja-like man from the Blood Demon clan appeared. He told the soldiers that he would chase the man. While still floating in the air, the man immediately took out a bottle and opened it. I don't know what kind of liquid it was. But suddenly, the red man was already behind the man. Of course, the man who called him from the Bayok clan was surprised. He immediately took out his sword. Before he had time to attack him, the man from the Blood Demon clan immediately hit the man until he accelerated to the ground. And when he reached the ground, the man died instantly. After successfully killing the eyes of the Bayok clan, the red-haired man went straight to his master. Also seen, there were a lot of swords placed on the table. It turned out that this red-haired man was the number 2 of the Shining Avian Horse clan who was not told his name. And this master, of course, was the chairman of the Shining Avian Horse clan. The chairman immediately told him to sit down, and told the red-haired man about the meaning of all the swords. The red-haired man mentioned that these swords were the result of the sacrifice of the lives of the predecessors. The elder also explained that the sacrifice of the answer was not wrong. There were also Bone Collector and Hollow Thunder swords. He continued that the Hollow Thunder sword and the Bone Collector sword were really interesting swords that had the same characteristics. Their nickname was the Sword of God. The reason why these 4 swords are nicknamed God swords is, they were forged from meteorites that fell from the sky. Not iron from this world. Dark Soul belongs to the demon god, Infinity belongs to the chairman of the Murin unit, the Bone Collector is here and the Unbending is hidden somewhere. But suddenly, the Hollow Thunder sword, 15 swords made of meteorite stone appeared out of nowhere. This is very strange. How did the meteorite suddenly appear? And this makes the chairman very curious. The elder then asked him about Doma, who seemed to be locked up and chained. Knowing that Doma was still breathing, the elder told him to keep him alive. Because according to him, he was still useful to them. Then, he told the man to spread rumors to the Bayok clan. That the Hollow Thunder sword of the Thousand Sword Academy contains meteorite metal in it. Make the rumors to harm the Thousand Sword Academy. Moreover, the Thousand Sword Academy that was burned and destroyed by the Black Storm Cavalry, they are currently building a magnificent-looking building. They must have spent a lot of money on it. Make it seem like the Black Storm Cavalry suddenly retreated because of the demon god's orders. And say that the Blood Demon clan is secretly helping the Thousand Sword Academy. And that way, this opportunity can destroy the elders of the Murim Union. The red-haired man immediately rushed away according to orders. And it turns out, this intention is to get the Infinity Sword. But the elder is still curious how he got the Dark Soul sword owned by the demon god. Then, the scene moves to a Jingmen mountain in Hubei. Scene, Li Guol, Manbokja and his son Shilwang who joined the trip. It turns out, they want to meet with Sub Kyung, the tiger bamboo sword which this year is estimated to be 72 years old. Manbokja has heard that tiger bamboo sword lasted 100 seconds against Bian Il Kwang the demon god. According to him, he's more skillful than people give him credit for. Hearing that, Li Guol laughed. Li Guol remembered that time before the fight with the demon god. The demon god told him that there are several swordsmen who are almost equal to him. In his mind there are only 3 people. The person the demon god met in the peak forest of Yunnan lasted 100 seconds against him. Then, the person the demon god met in the Tai mountain in Shandong lasted 1000 seconds against him. And the third, he met a Jingmen mountain sage who had the same energy level as his heavenly blood demon technique. The demon god at that time underestimated Li Guol's ability, and now added to the list of one person who managed to fight with the demon god safely and the only person who matched his strength. But apparently, the news of Li Guol's fight with the demon god didn't spread. Then, Manbokja asked Li Guol, what would Li Guol do if he met the tiger bamboo sword? Would he spar with it? Li Guol smiled and said, he didn't know if he would spar, debate or just drink tea. What will it be? Manbokja was very curious. Unlike his son Shilwang, he was not curious, instead he was very tired. His son Shilwang asked them to rest for a while. But Manbokja scolded him and told him to behave like a man. In short, they had reached the top of Mount Jingmen, the peak forest of Yunnan. They reached the end of the cliff and saw in a place where there was no road leading to it, there was a house. And they thought that Sub Kyung had escaped here and stayed there. And they thought that Sub Kyung exiled himself here and stayed in that place. Shilwang's son was wondering how they could go to the house. But suddenly, a woman came out of the house. The woman realized that there were people watching her. Suddenly, for some reason the woman fell into the ravine. Suddenly, Manbokja and Shilwang were shocked to see that. While Li Guol immediately jumped to save her. Li Guol also tried to grab her, but did not reach, because the woman fell quite fast. Li Guol immediately pulled out a gold cloth from inside his shirt. The cloth went fast and managed to catch the woman. Manbokja and his son Shilwang were surprised to see that. Seeing that Li Guol can fly. Likewise with the woman, who was surprised to survive and see Li Guol fly. And she fainted instantly. Li Guol looked at her with pity and took her to the top. Arriving at the top, Li Guol told them to wait until she woke up. In short, they lit a fire and made tea, because the weather on the top of the mountain was getting colder. Meanwhile, the woman had woken up from her stupor. The hulking son of Shilwang gave her a cup of tea with great care. She thanked him and drank it. The woman thanked him and drank the tea very deliciously. Seeing that, the kingpin looked fascinated. He did not expect that the way the woman drank alone was very beautiful. Li Guol immediately asked him about the state of tiger bamboo. This woman, who was the son of Tiger Bamboo, told him that Tiger Bamboo is currently sick for 5 years. It all started when, 5 years ago, a swordsman with a black sword visited his father. At first they argued, they discussed many sword techniques, and a fierce battle ensued where they chanted footwork and horses. After my father fought the man for 100 seconds. Before he could finish his sentence, the woman burst into tears. He immediately tried to go to her and tried to calm her down. The woman tried to continue that after the fight, her father always carried sorrow in his heart because of the blood that flowed in the woman's body. Manhwa interrupted her and guessed that the woman's mother was from the Zhuge clan. Hearing that, the woman was surprised. She wondered how Manhwa could know that. Manhwa smiled at her and explained that he forgot to introduce himself, but sure enough, he was known as the all-knowing man in Murim. The woman immediately saluted, and it turned out she knew that it was Manhwa, the famous learned man in Murim. She was very happy to meet him and introduced herself, that her name was Zhuge Rio. Women of the Zhuge clan are known to be very intelligent, but they have too much yin energy that blocks their blood vessel energy. So, they are known to die at a young age. Rio continued, after his father fell ill from the fight, Rio had tried to persuade him to take medicine, but his father refused. And Rio could not bear to live alone if his father left later. Rio burst into tears. The kingpin immediately empathized with him, he cried too. Let it look like a caring man. Li Guo also thought for a moment, and he confirmed that he wanted to meet with Tiger Bamboo. In short, they were already in the house. Look, the figure of Tiger Bamboo, who was lying weak and helpless on the bed. Tiger Bamboo thanked Li Guo and friends who had managed to save his son. Without further ado, Li Guo immediately asked Tiger Bamboo about his plans for his son. Of course, that made Rio cry even more. While shaking, Tiger Bamboo explained that isolating himself in this mountain because his pride as a martial arts expert had been destroyed, he wanted to fix it, but apparently, it only worsened his illness and it also worsened his daughter's condition. Tiger Bamboo then asked Li Guo if Li Guo had ever been in love. Li Guo replied emphatically that he had not. Tiger Bamboo went on to say that he loved Rio's mother very much and she was the reason Tiger Bamboo lived. However, the opposition from the clan chief was fierce. Moreover, Tiger Bamboo was the only swordsman in his clan. So, he decided to become the martial arts expert that the clan chief should recognize. And Rio's mother still patiently waited. Rio's mother even endured divine punishment from her yin energy disease. Survived 20 years. Rio's mother and Tiger Bamboo loved each other for a year that seemed like forever. Then, she left the world after giving birth to Rio as her heir. For a few years, Tiger Bamboo was able to live while remembering their love for that 1 year. He was happy just by watching Rio grow up and thinking of his mother. However, one rainy day, Tiger Bamboo went crazy because he wanted to see her so much. But she was gone. Tiger Bamboo felt as if he was losing his mind, so he took the sword that he had sharpened before. Later, he was consumed by the sword in the sense of committing suicide. Hearing that story, Li Guo offered he would help Bamboo Tiger with all the power he had to help him heal, just like when Bamboo Tiger poured out all his love. But apparently, Bamboo Tiger didn't want that, because he was about to leave. Then, Bamboo Tiger told his son to go and find a man who would make Rio happy. After saying that, Bamboo Tiger passed away, and Rio cried for his father's return in his arms. After a few days of grieving, at the entrance of Manhwa, Li Guo asked Rio why he didn't want to return to the Zhuge clan. Rio explained that he didn't want to be a burden, and that Rio would rely on Manhwa and find a way to cure his illness. Li Guo offers that there is something that can cure him, and he invites Rio to come with him. Rio refuses politely, because there is a will from his father. So he will practice the Tiger Bamboo sword technique at Manhwa. After that, Rio looks down and says goodbye. Just turning around, Li Guo reveals to him that someday they should meet again. Rio turns around and promises that he won't forget Li Guo until he dies. After that, Rio walks away. Li Guo smiles, while the hobo cries because he doesn't want to lose Rio. Unlike Manhwa, he seems very excited to see the grand opening of the Thousand Swords Academy. Then, the scene moves inside the Murim Union Castle. Morong Castle. There is a Bayak clan head candidate, Bayak Huan Du. He also said, after losing the bone collector stolen by Du Ma from the Blood Demonic Heaven clan. Their honor and reputation as a clan in the Murim Union dropped dramatically. He also intends will get the bone collector sword back no matter what. He went into a room, and there was a young man who was the future head of the Morone clan. Nearing Cheon. Huan Du immediately looked down and took out a paper from inside his shirt. He gave the paper to Muring Cheon. When he opened the paper, he was so curious why there was meteorite steel in the Hollow Thunder Sword of the Thousand Srod Academy. Because he knew that meteorite steel only existed in the Four Gods' weapons. He guessed, is it possible that they melted the stolen bone collector and then forged it back? In the paper it was written that their suspicions did not stop there. How could they rebuild their building after being destroyed by the attack incident last year? What reason was behind the Black Storm cavalry that suddenly did not attack? After reading everything, Cheon immediately burned the paper and asked him, "What is this message?" Huan Du explained that this morning, a masked man told the servant to deliver this message to them. Cheon seemed to realize that the message was not implied, but obviously, this message wanted to slander and bring down Thousand Sword Academy. And the video continued.